Okay, well, first of all, what is the swing scale? Well, if you don't have my other video, which is the intro to improvising for rock and blues, then I will explain the reason why we have a scale in the first place is that a scale is a basis for what we can use to improvise with. I'm going to turn my camera light on here just to brighten things just a smidge. There we go. Now, I'm not a big proponent of scales for the most part. You're not going to see me telling people to go out and spend hours and hours going. I mean, frankly, it's boring, and I don't think that it's inspiring for the most part to do that, and it's time that you're not spending learning what you really want to learn. So you hear me kind of dog scales a lot. However, in this one case, this scale is kind of important. It's not like that basic major scale. In this case, it gives you a foundation for how you can build a solo. And it's very important. Now, and it's also important to learn the scale in each key. What we're going to do in this, we're just going to work on the key of C in this video. And the reason is that you need to learn the concepts of improvising before you start getting crazy. And it changes so much. On the guitar, they really have such an advantage over us in some ways because they learn something and then they take this finger, this finger here, and they just stick it and they bar it down on the fretboard. And then they form the same chord and they go all the way up and down, and they're able to do, or just kind of form the same thing all over the fretboard, and it does the same thing for them. Now, my guitar players, I'm not trying to dog you. I'm just saying that that's an advantage of that instrument. Whereas on the piano, if you learn how to do something in the key of C and you have no sharps and flats, everything's on white keys, then all of a sudden you try to do it in E flat and you got 1, 2, 3 white keys or black keys and some white keys, and the way it all stacks up, it just changes, and it's not so easy to just take it and play the same thing. It just changes the way it feels and the way it functions a little bit. So there's a little bit more learning involved sometimes with the piano. So what I'm doing is I'm going to teach the swing scale to you here in the key of C, and we're going to focus everything we do today on the key of C. I will put out supplementary videos where we run through the same exercises, and we'll do 2 key signatures at a time in those videos, because I'm not going to spend time teaching you the fundamental ideas that I do in this one. We're just going to teach the scale, run you through the exercises, and give you the free plays, and I'll do like F and B flat on one video, and I'll do G and D on one video, and I'll do A and E on one video, so that you'll have a chance to learn it in all the different keys and have tracks to play with and all that good stuff. But in one video, that would be way too overwhelming, and I think that it's much better to consolidate it right now and teach you the foundation in just the one place. So that's the plan. So here's what the scale actually is. In the key of C, we find a middle C here. That's your tonic note, which of course is the root note of that key signature. So the scale is not 8 notes long from octave to octave. It's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 notes long from octave to octave. Okay? So it is C, and you go up a major second to D. Then you find the minor third, which in this case is an E flat. And then the major third, which in this case is an E natural. Then you skip to the perfect fifth, which is a G. Then you find the major sixth, which is a very, very important note in this scale, which in this case is an A. And then you hit the tonic again an octave higher, which is C. So in other words, C, D, E flat, E, G, A, C. C, D, E flat, E, G, A, C. And so, without me talking over the top of it, it sounds like this. A little bit slower so you can see it is. Okay? That's what the swing scale is. Now, there are, in these kinds of what I call improving scales, like the blues scale and the swing scale, there are, I call root notes, and these are my terms, they're not music industry terms, they're just my terms, but I think there are root notes and there are money notes, all right? The root notes in this, I say, are the ones that are the same in the regular scale, in the C scale, which in this case are C, E, and G. That's a C major triad, a C major chord, and they're all part of this. Now, the other three notes, a couple of them are part of a regular C major scale, but they are very important to the sound of this. There's the D, which is your major second, the E flat, which is your minor third, and the A, which is your major sixth. Those are flavor notes in this scale. Okay? So in other words, the C is important because it's the note that tells you that you're in the key of C. The G is important because it's the perfect fifth and it gives a little bit of stability to that chord. The E is important because it defines whether this is a major or a minor thing, and it's a major thing. But the D, the E flat, and the A are the notes that kind of give this a little bit of character. They're the notes that when you play them are a little bit off the beaten path. They're not inside the regular chord. And it just kind of, those are the notes that give this the flavor that it has. So, just for fun, what we're going to do, now that I've told you what it is, we're going to run through this scale one more time, and then I'm going to play a backing track, and we're going to play the scale in rhythm over the backing track. Okay? So, again, it is C, D, E flat, E, G, A, C, then back down to A, G, E, E flat, D, C. And you can choose the fingering that works best for you. I will share with you the fingering that I tend to use. Don't feel like I'm slapping your knuckles with a ruler and telling you you have to use these, but I use this particular set of fingerings. And it works well for me because that way I can kind of work my way up and down the keyboard pretty fast. But I like to go thumb, index finger, middle finger on E flat, and then pivot my thumb underneath and put it down on the E. There. Then I put my index finger down on the G. My middle finger goes on the A. And I hit the C up here with my pinky. And then come back down to my middle finger on A, and my index finger on G, and my thumb again on E, natural. Pivot my wrist over and hit that E flat with my middle finger. I hit the D, the major second, with my index finger, and I'm back to C on my thumb. So in other words, it looks like this. So again, use the fingering that works best for you, but keep in mind that when you get into solos, a lot of times what works great is to play the scale quickly or part of the scale, and so you want to find a fingering where you can move fluently. And that's what I like about this one for me, because I can go obviously I've practiced it a lot of times, and I've built up the dexterity, the muscle memory, and the neurotransmitters and the neural pathways in my brain for that. But so could you. But it doesn't have to be that. It could be any fingering that you want, but you just have to pick one that feels comfortable for you and then stick with it long enough so that it becomes fluid. So that's my little spiel on fingering. So now that we've done that, we're going to play this in time. I want you to observe what I'm doing, and then I'll stop it, we'll start over again, and we'll start together. But this is what we're going to do. We'll play it twice as fast. Twice as fast. Okay? Now, some of you might have trouble as we speed it up in the early going. Don't worry. Just keep practicing it. You'll get it. You'll get it. And knowing and being able to speed through that scale is really, really useful. Because that can either be the solo or a part of a solo leading up to something. I do that all the time. I mean, 90% of what I was just doing there is going up and down the scale from various points in it. So it's very, very useful in this case to be able to play the scale without thinking too hard about it and play it fluidly and be able to go up and down multiple octaves if you want to. You don't have to be able to do that right away, for heaven's sakes, you know, so don't freak yourself out, but just know that that's a worthy goal. Practice the scale, you know, just 5 minutes a day. You don't have to do it for a long time. Just do it for a couple minutes a day and kind of get that muscle memory trained, and man, it will pay dividends for improvising. Now, the other thing that I need to point out is that this is a swing scale, and in a lot of we're going to do 3 different kinds of feels today that we're going to be practicing with, and 2 of them involve playing it in a swing style. Now, what is a swing style? Well, a swing style is if you're playing quarter notes, for example, your tempo could be 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Now, if you play eighth notes in straight time, okay, not swing time, but straight time, an eighth note is exactly half of a quarter note. So if a quarter note is 1, 2, 3, 4, an eighth note is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. But in swing time, an eighth note is not exactly half of a quarter note. It's more of an afterthought. It's an implication. To be honest, I'm not sure how you would notate it properly. I think it would look similar to like a dotted eighth note followed by a 16th note, but that really is missing the concept. This is a feel. You got to reach into that soul that I know you have. If you didn't have soul, you wouldn't be looking at a video like this. You may not have used it enough in the past, and you feel like you don't know how to access it, but I promise you it's there. So you dig into that soul and you got to feel it. Okay? So here's your tempo. 1, 2, 3, 4. Instead of a straight 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and swing time is like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... You see how the beginning of that beat is just slightly longer than the second part of the beat? Well, in swing time, they write it as eighth notes. And there's just an implication. They just put the word swing it at the front and they say, hey, we're going to trust you to not be, my band director, my jazz band director used to look at us and say, don't be square, you know? Don't be square. Square would be to play swing it, to be in a thing that calls for swing it and to be playing it straight. I'll give you an example. This is square. Now, that sounds awful. But this is when you take the square and you blow it up. Okay. So anyway, now that you kind of know what swinging it is, we're going to focus on quarter notes for a while first. But when you get to your eighth notes, just remember you have to have that soul. It's not just going to be a you know, that's not what we're doing. It'll be okay. Now we're going to be doing this to sort of a country style track. We've got a typical so in other words, we're doing this to a feel like you got to know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, know when to run. Playing a little slower than that song, but that's the kind of feel that we're working with. So let's just get ready. If you need to watch me do it one more time, just join me whenever you can. We're just going to play through the swing scale a number of times over the top of this track and get real acclimated to it. We're going to speed it up to twices. Twice as fast there. Stay at that that tempo. Twice as fast. Okay, now I know some of you just freaked out and said, "Oh my God, what are you doing, Steve? I can't play it that fast." That's okay. I did that because someday you will be able to play it that fast, and if I hadn't thrown it in there, when you got to that point, you'd be like, "Dude, this is boring." So just play it however fast. If you have to play it at this tempo the whole way through for a while, if all you can do is go, then do it. Go to the free place areas and just play it that fast. I mean, it's not a problem. There is no right or wrong. There is no timeline for when you have to get this done. You're on your own journey with this. So, you know, give yourself the time and the space that you need to learn it, but it's a good practice when you're able to, and when you feel ready to try anyway, to double your speed from 2, and then, okay, and doubling it from there, I think, would be, I mean, let's see, I think that's what it would be. Off the top of my head, I can't think, but I believe so. Now that, you get to the point where you can do it like that and sustain it for a while, now you're really getting to an advanced level with it. But you don't have to go that fast. Just play it so that you're comfortable with the scale, you know what the notes are, and that you have a fingering that works for you to be fluid moving up. And when you're ready, double your speed. And then work on that. And then when you're ready, double your speed. But that just gives you some ideas of what to do. It's important to spend time playing that scale over these tracks because it really is the foundation. It is where you will pull your improv notes from. And quite frankly, it will, playing the scale, either the whole scale or part of the scale, will be a big part of your improv licks anyway. So now that we have kind of practiced that scale together, I would encourage you to go back, play with me on that section as often as you need to feel comfortable, revisit it a lot. If you just need to pick the slowest tempo or one of the tempos and just work on it, then go to the free play section and play it over the top of these different tracks at the tempo that you need to play it at. The next section, we're going to talk about maybe applying some things from the swing scale into practice. So we will get started with that in just a moment.